Game prices are collapsing. Publishers were wrong. Would have guessed.
I've heard you, and with today's story, it seems the rest of the industry is also beginning to hear you. Now, this year started with the fear that gaming is getting more expensive. Microsoft and Nintendo pushed the ceiling to $80, an impossibly high ask, especially as everything else has got more and more pricey. But elsewhere in the industry, something quieter is happening. And it's this. The games that you are actually buying, well, we've got the data about them. And as it turns out, they're getting cheaper. $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. That was the rumor that kicked off this year's anxiety about game prices.
Bro, it's not just a rumor, it's a calculated guess. Of course they're gonna go for the 100 if they can. If they can. But I don't think they can. I don't think so. We'll see.
It was one that Take-Two have been happy to downplay, if not outright refute. But with GTA now delayed, we won't know the truth until next autumn, though we've already seen audiences reject the new price ceiling of $80. Xbox tried to put The Outer Worlds 2 at $80.
I don't even buy games at $60. Like $60, I feel like $60 is so much money for a game. Like, it depends on the game. Like, if it's, if it's Skyrim 14 years ago, or 14 years ago, damn. If it's Skyrim 14 years ago, sure, I'll pay it. I'm not gonna lie. I've paid for Skyrim 3 times. I have. I bought it originally on PS3, then I bought it again on PS4, and then I bought it on PC. All for $60, so... that game was worth it. I'm gonna fuck. That game was worth it. But I also have thousands of hours on that game. But I would never buy, what's a good game like Battlefield? I would never buy Battlefield for $60. I just know I'm not gonna get the value from it, personally.
Presumably buying some headroom for Microsoft's lovely 30% profit margin demand, but they quickly reversed that decision. The inference from that? They didn't see enough pre-orders. People essentially voted with their wallet. Just that unlike real votes, the great thing about voting with your wallet is you don't need to do anything to cast your vote. It turns out audiences wouldn't pay that.
You just don't do anything. You take the Valve formula. The Steam formula, you just don't do shit, you just don't do anything and you just win. That's what it's that simple. If you don't buy shit with your money, you're literally voting against it. Easy.
Price for The Outer Worlds 2, but you know what they would pay? The regular price, because selling at a normal price, the game did have a top 10 launch. Though the right product at $80 will sell.
I wouldn't buy Mario Kart for $60.
Proved that. Even bundled with Switch 2 for many buyers, you don't get a 92% attach rate across 9.57 million copies without lots of people shelling out the full amount. But that's only one side of this story, because the reality we need to dive into today is about how off-console prices have been plummeting. But there's a not so funny thing hanging over all of this, and it's the simple fact that video game spending is actually falling, but subscriptions are rising. We've seen that in analyst reports, and too often, well, we're paying for subs we don't use.
I mean, that's fair enough. If you play a game that is for free and you feel like it's worth it, then yeah, that's fine. Why not? Games like Warframe, for an example. Warframe has been going on for like over 10 years. And it has popped off multiple times. And right now, I think there are like 80,000 people playing it on Steam. I have no problem putting some money into a game like that. Because, I've played that game for a while. And I'll think about getting back into it. And yeah, again, no problem spending like $5-10 from time to time on a game like that, because that game is completely free. There's so much to do, and it's really fun to play.
We identify recurring charges for you, and then you can cancel them in just a few taps. They've basically put the work in to make that real smooth, so if this is a chore you've been putting off, well, now's the time. They make it easy. But it's not just that. Rocket Money will also help you with bill negotiation. You simply upload your bill, and they will be able to help. For a personal example, whenever my internet went to its off-contract price, I was able to renegotiate a speed upgrade and also half my monthly bill. But here's the thing, I was overloaded with paperwork and I actually did that negotiation late. And by doing it late, I basically wasted a bunch of money. So with the likes of Rocket Money being able to help, you can actually go and make progress in those things way more easily. And that is the huge value of Rocket Money. They make it all easy. They've canceled over $500 million of subscriptions. They've helped save customers up to $740 a year when using all of their app's premium features. They've other great tools beyond what I've mentioned. So if you want to spend less and save more, which
bro, I don't buy that. So like I feel like most of these things are just complete fucking bullshit. It's like the honey thing all over again. It's like, oh, look at how much money you're saving, and then you're not saving shit. You know? How do they make money?
Sounds pretty good to me. You can join the over 5 million Rocket Money members using rocketmoney.com/Ballular or just by clicking the
maybe
link
I'm wrong.
below.
You
can get started for free, play around, have some fun, save some money, and then unlock more features with premium. And that's rocketmoney.com/Ballular News. If you've bought a game on Steam in the last 18 months, you probably paid $20 or less.
That's me.
In fact, you've probably been paying less since 2023 than you did from 2020.
What?
What are these numbers? Well, these numbers are from the research of Simon Carlos, who runs the excellent Game Discover Co. newsletter. He tracked average and median prices for the top 50 new monthly games on Steam during that period of time, ranked by copy sold, and you're looking at the graphs now. We see a median price as low as $10, as high as $20, with averages between $16 and $29.
Damn right.
Shocker, Steam users are thrifty people who like deals. We probably
exactly.
didn't need this much.
That's the thing. It's not just that people are buying indie games, it's that people don't buy games unless there's a fucking sale. Like Hogwarts Legacy. I think Cyber Monday, Hogwarts Legacy was like 89% off. So it costed like literal dollars. So it was like $5, So why would you pay 45 or $50 for a game when you can pay $5? It's just a no-brainer.
Analysis to work that out, but that's not where I'm ending. Here's where things get truly interesting. From February 2023 to October 2025, the average amount of money spent on a best-selling game went down by 2%.
There we go.
The median, though, it went down by 20%. That means that more games are selling at a lower price. And whenever Carlos took a look at the revenue earned, the trend actually...
I mean, is anyone surprised? Like, rent and food is more expensive than ever. Why would you buy more games for $60, $70? That's a lot of fucking money.
Held. Now, in theory, that should favor more expensive games. They generate more revenue per sale. But even there, the median dropped from $23.75 to $20.35. That's about 14% of a drop. And do bear in mind that as this has been happening...
Guys, let's try to drop it by 20% next year as well. We can do it! We can do it!
Currency has been inflating. So, even as players feel like they are being pressured towards $80 games, what they're actually buying is getting cheaper and cheaper. And what's key is that this is not showing us what has been offered.
Bro, I'm not feeling pressured at all. I feel, if anything, I feel like I'm pressured not to buy it. I'm being pushed in the opposite direction. So yeah, that's just what happens when greed becomes just too dominant. I've always felt like $60 is way too much for a game, anyways. So I was forced to buy it for $60 or even more for so many years when I was a PlayStation fanboy, and now I'm just fed up with it. I will never pay $60 for a game ever again, unless, Okay, guys, I always wait like 2 weeks before I buy a game, because I want to look at gameplay, I want to look at reviews, I want to look at actual reviews, not the reviews the day it launches, because everyone gives it a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, no matter the game. It's like Diablo 4. The game wasn't even out. Nobody had played the game, and most streamers were giving it a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. And then, when it came out, it was like, oh yeah, it is a 9 out of 10. It is like, yeah, maybe 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And then 2 weeks later, people giving it 5. The same people that gave it 10 were giving it 5. Okay, I'm crashing out. But, shit like that. I do not trust a single fucking person, okay? That's why I always wait at least 2 weeks, because that's when people give the real reviews and the real ratings. You know, once the honeymoon phase has vanished, has faded a little bit. You know,
showing us what players have actually chosen. It's showing the best-selling.
I'm sure you do that too.
on the
Like, I'm not
platform,
alone on that.
and that
you know?
does feel like a bit of a win, right? That we are seeing smaller teams.
Wait. Hollow Knight Silk Song gross revenue 75k or 75 million. Whoa. I actually bought the old one. Not a fan. I mean, I understand why people like it. It's a pretty game. And the mechanics are nice. I just personally, I'm used to better. What can I say?
And that does feel like a bit of a win, right? That we are seeing smaller teams with cheaper games beginning to dominate the sales space. That says a lot for the value of Steam. And in a world where people would have to compare the price of a full console plus a subscription for multiplayer and more expensive games and weigh that up to a Steam machine with generally far cheaper games, well, I think it also makes the Steam machine look stronger as well. Overall, though, it's somewhat validating an argument.
I mean, the Steam PC is not going to be priced as a console because they know they can't do that. They know they can get away with it as well. So it's going to be priced competitively to a PC of the same level, meaning it'll probably cost $1,000. But you know, since things are getting pricey now, maybe it'll be $1,100. Which honestly, I think it's an okay deal. And it's definitely a good deal to people that are console players that want to get into the PC space.
So make your games cheaper, and then more people will buy them. Buying four $20 indie games is to many people better than one $80 AAA game. Surely that's what's going on. Surely that's what everyone is doing. Well, ish. Let's look more into the data. Carlos gave us the perfect example. It's the September releases on Steam, where Silksong sold like gangbusters at $20, with 4.6 million copies shifted on Steam alone. That's nearly double the sales of a full-price title like Borderlands 4.
Like, look at these games. The games here that I personally think that are you know, worth buying and deserve all the revenue is Hollow Knight Silksong, even though I don't like it. Megabonk, of course. I personally don't like Borderlands, and especially not after the previous Borderlands. I'm just like, nah. It left a bad taste in my mouth. EA Sports is fucking disgusting. I hate EA. Yeah, personally only the first two.
The immediate takeaway is a lower barrier to entry at the price of a couple of coffees, meaning you give yourself the widest possible audience. And a big game. And in theory, that also means that more people can buy more games. But it's actually not quite that simple. You see, regardless of price, the majority of game players don't actually buy that many games. Circana's Future of Games report surveyed 2,500 US players on self-reported purchase patterns. About a third of the market says they buy just one game or fewer a year. Just under 2/3, 63%, buy fewer than 2 games a year. That is...
Yeah, I mean, it depends, you know, it really does depend. And, you know, people gotta be picky these days. You don't want to buy a game for like, okay, even if you buy a game for like $20, you don't want to buy a game for $20 and then you're like, oh shit, man, this piece of shit game, you know, it got DEI in it, it got fucking, you know, it's just ruined, the fighting mechanics suck. You know, you don't want that. $20, you know, you could have spent that on something else. You could have spent that on, honestly, anything else would have been better, you know. So yeah, you wait for some real gold mines, and that's when you buy it, or you even wait for a sale and then you buy them. You know, there's no rush.
Absolutely insane to me, but I suppose when I think about what my norms are, or maybe you do the same, we probably have a sampling bias, one that is in and around enthusiast gamers. We do buy more games, but it seems that with broader audiences, that is less the case.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's Circana doing a survey of 2,500 people in the US. It's good enough work, it's hypothesis generating work, but obviously, it is just a survey. Though I would say that when you think about games overall, a lot of it is plausible. You see, a lot of people are only interested in buying this year's sport game or this year's Call of Duty.
True.
Well, maybe not this year's Call of Duty. Maybe Battlefield instead. But
Bro.
the majority.
I'm sure this year's Call of Duty is amazing, dude. Definitely worth $70. Hell yeah.
Of any product-based industry is often people who are gently engaged in it. Not people, perhaps, like you and me, but it's actually the top of the chart that complicates things here, because those people probably aren't the ones buying indie games for $20 en masse. That's the other 37% of people, but even that 37% is quite stratified. 22% say they buy a game every 3 months. That's 4 games a year, and that adds up with Valve's own data. Yes, Valve's own data suggests that users played only 4 games on Steam on average in 2023 and 2024. A further 10% buy a new game monthly, which is, of course, great for an industry releasing thousands of games a year. But we need to put this in perspective. If you bought Silk Song and any other game in September, 2 games in...
Wait, let's see how many games I bought. So I bought... I bought Dark Souls Remastered. I haven't played it. Fuck, I want to play it again. Yeah, I really wanted to get it on PC. I bought Hollow Knight. I bought Party Animals because of my little sister, but we haven't played it, and it's fucking the worst. It's the worst version of Gang Beasts. I don't know why she wanted this one. The quality is awful in this game. Anyways, Phasmophobia. I bought Phasmophobia. It's an awful game. Fight me on it. I don't give a shit. It's an awful game. It's alright. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like it. Split Fiction. I didn't buy it. I got it from a friend. And yeah, I think that's about it. So how many were that? 1, 2 that were forced upon me. 3, 4. Yeah, 4. That puts me in like in the middle, right?
1 month. Then you are only 4% of the games market. That's kind of wild. And even if we're allowed to some swing and fuzziness because a survey is only as good as the survey, the point, I think, still does stand. And of course, it's a point that we do see in a lot of other things as well. Take whaling, right? Whaling and free-to-play games, where the majority of the revenue does come from a very small strata of the...
I think that is so dangerous, by the way. Like, I don't care. People can do what they want, and I'm not gonna put myself on a high horse or anything. I have played live service games, and I have spent a lot of money on them. It's just kind of dangerous. I think it's dangerous. But you know, as long as people think it's worth it, like, who am I to judge?
That game's player base. And when we see data like that, I think we begin to understand why all of those publishers and indie devs moved their releases away from Silksong, or of course, away from GTA 6. And in the case of the indies, it would especially be because most of those indies are at the same price point or cheaper than Silksong. So if you're releasing against Silksong, a game with massive cut-through to enthusiast audiences, if you're releasing against that, then, well, you're betting on the 4% of the market turning up that does actually buy multiple games a month. Yeah. That doesn't really seem like a great strategy.
Or like, yeah, that, or like the 10%, or maybe the 22%. Who knows? Maybe that game will be that one game. You know, that's probably what they're banking on, right? I mean, of course. But then the game has to be really good, right? It can't just be, you know, it can't be just another FIFA, I feel like. Or maybe it can. You know, I hate fucking sport. I hate sport fans.
Does it? And here's
sport games
the
fans.
Kicker. What if I told you there's another layer? You see, this chart does not distinguish between new games and already released games that are on sale. Every time someone buys a game that's been out for 6 months, they're probably not buying a new game that month to go along with it, regardless of price. So, more...
That is so true, because speaking for myself, let's check this out again. Wish list. My wish list is Dredge. Oh, 60% off. I should probably buy it. That's the best deal it has had in like a year. Crab Champions, Scariest Mod, Red Dead Redemption, Light No Fire. I'm still waiting on that. Another Crab's Treasure. You know, it's not an old game, but it's not a new game. But I do want to play it. And then I want to buy Dark Souls 2 and 3 on PC. Core Keeper. I want Core Keeper. 9 Souls. I want to try it out. You know, none of it is new games except I guess Expedition 33, which, you know, like I said, I'm cheap. I'm not gonna be buying it for anything close to $40 or $50. So yeah, mostly old games.
People aren't buying games, even as prices keep trending down. Now, if that is the case, as a bunch of this data suggests, well, why then are audiences feeling like they are constantly being asked for more and more? When people are asked to pay $80 or $70 for a video game, Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony are basically banking on a fairly simple principle, that the people who actually have money will spend it regardless of anything else that's going on. Essentially, they're betting on it being a premium product with inflexible demand.
They're banking on you paying despite what they do or say or provide.
Is why marketing teams target those people. That's why those absurd collector's editions exist, right?
Sure.
The people who absolutely love games and have money. They're the people these companies can count on. The games industry basically thrives on people who can spend without thinking about it, which has always been the case. Buying more than one $60 game at launch has been unaffordable to people for years.
Literal years.
Well, the problem is the proportion of people with money to spend freely actually does appear to be shrinking. Get this. As of September, the top 10% of earners accounted for 50% of US retail sales. And the very same year, spending in games is actually down. The 18 to 25 age group in the US is spending nearly a quarter less in games.
I mean, it only makes sense. Like, food prices have gone up so much in just the past 2-3 years. It's actually insane. And I'm not even bringing like COVID into it. I'm talking after COVID.
This year. And everyone,
so yeah, people are not
just in large
spending money on games.
But on the whole, most game spending is only a few points down. Now, given we're in rough economic times, that could seem like a good thing, right? Oh, the world is experiencing troubles, but games are only down in most categories by a few percent. What if I told you it's actually worse than that? You see, the difference that's been made up, right? What's made this only a few...
It's not just that it's down a couple of percentages. It's also that it's not up. You know, you can't just say, oh, it's only down 4%. The fact that it's down 4% means that it's down more than 4% because it was supposed to go up a couple of percent instead. Imagine if these companies were banking on the gaming industry going up 10% this year, which is not ridiculous, you know, but it's gone down 4%. That means it's gone down 14% in their eyes. That's a lot. That's a lot.
2 points down? Well, it's basically subscriptions making up the difference because those have grown all year.
They always grow.
That comes from the bottom of the spending population, not the top, right? It comes from people who are seeking more and more value for their increasingly limited dollars, whilst also spending less and less on
Funny how that works. They think they're getting more for the money when they're paying for like Genshin Impact. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, sure. Go play Path of Exile 2 and buy like a skin for $60. That's totally worth it.
Premium games. And I think that is the big tension that people are feeling. We're in a situation where game marketing, traditional big games, are basically out of reach to most of the audience, more so than perhaps ever in recent memory. But the companies
it's just because they're priced too high.
Players as a whole. A lot of the market has changed underneath those companies, but it's not really like it seems they've really changed their comms to match. And that is leading to people feeling ignored. It's leading to people facing demands.
Mario Kart shouldn't cost more than $20 in my opinion.
Because the companies that used to be targeting them are now not targeting them. They are targeting someone with more disposable income. And that's a tough change to stomach. But by contrast, the $20 games on Steam...
It kind of feels the same with like Legos. Do I know if you guys remember when Legos was just a kid's toy? And, you know, I grew up with Legos, and it was inexpensive. Nowadays, it's like an adult hobby because it's so expensive. It's insane. You can buy like this tiny box of Legos, like some figurine or something, cost like $200. Was it $200? Yeah, I've seen it, like $200. Yeah.
Are changing. Individual indie developers are watching game prices creep lower and lower, and they're just hoping that they will get enough sales to succeed because they cannot afford to price higher and risk player blowback. Now, we're not quite at the mobile
It's already too late.
where developers basically can't
The
afford
blowback's
to price
already here.
games as premium products anymore, but we are seeing a shift in how games are sold, and what that may lead to may not be great for all of us. Because if you can't ask players for more than 25,
I don't really care. I don't really care if I'm not gonna be able to afford games, because I just feel like sooner or later it's gonna go in my favor.
bucks without facing comparisons to Silksong, then you may start having to scope your development very differently indeed. And that means that some traditional games simply would be out of reach. It could also mean that we do feel more and more nickel and dimed.
If it's out of reach, then it's out of reach. I don't really care about it, you know. Gaming is a hobby. It's not a necessity. It's much different from food or rent, you know. There's nothing I can do about food prices going up because I have to eat. But games going up, I don't really care. I'm just not gonna buy the games. I'll just pirate them if I have to. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. If I really want to play a game and I really can't spend that money, I'll just fucking pirate it. I don't give a shit. So, yeah.
So, it's not all doom and gloom. It actually seems there's a lot of vibrancy in the indie scene. But what we are seeing is a changing market, changing behaviors, and a AAA sector that is struggling to keep up pace with that change. So no wonder they're out of touch. And speaking of out of touch, Bungie. That's certainly something a lot of people would say about them, and they...
Bro, Bungie? They've been out of touch for the past 10 years. Ever since they made that deal with Activision with Destiny 1 and 2, like the 10-year contract, they've been out of touch ever since then. Like, I don't understand why people have been defending that game all these years. It's fucking ridiculous. Alright, great video, as always. Valor News is just the GOAT. I don't know why it's personalized here, I want all these videos. Alright, let's check the comments. The backlog is coming in handy, yeah. Would have thought pricing people out of their hobbies when they aren't paying enough to even afford basic living necessities would have been a bad idea. Yeah, no way! What the fuck? What? You're not paying anymore? You can't afford it? What? Wait, so you're saying you can't afford it, so you can't pay it? Just take a loan. Duh. I definitely reached the I'll wait a few months or a year for a sale. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. At this point, I find indie games not only more affordable, but more interesting. They usually are, and even if they're not completely worth their money, it's still like this fun experience. While half of the AAA games are like, they're not even fun, they're just wasting your time. And in my opinion, that's worse than fucking death. If I'd get paid $60 to play like some new Mario Luigi game, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't fucking do it because it's not the same as the old games. I would just die of boredom. Why pay £70 for badly optimized unfinished game when you can buy them 2 years later for £15 and run them properly with all the content included? I mean, he's totally right. It's the cost of chasing indefinite growth. Yeah, I don't think gaming has reached its limit or the ceiling, you know? But I do think it has reached its ceiling for now. I don't think the gaming industry is gonna grow as much as it did in the past years. You know, I think it's gonna slow down or go down a little bit before it goes back up. If it goes back up, you know, who knows? That's a pretty good video, guys. I would love to know your opinions in the comments. Just let me know. You know, I read all the comments, of course. I'm not a big channel, so I can read the comments. Yeah, let me know what you think. And if you like this content and you want more, then please subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.